Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be replacing the cabin air filters on the BMW i3 IO1. This is what those filters look like. And you're going to notice the BMW filter is going to have 3 circle blobs at the bottom of hot glue. These right here are to keep a distance between the water that accumulates in the air box. Now, as we all know, when you use the AC, water will start dripping from underneath your vehicle. This is perfectly normal. It's just a condensation that wears off the evaporator. And what happens is the water can build up into a little pool inside the air box. So these little gaps or spacers for the glue will prevent your filter from getting wet and reduce the chance of building mold and having that funky smell inside the cabin. So again, I just recommend this is that you get the BMW ones, mainly because they give you that little spacer. Now for tools, you're only going to need a T20. The T20 is that star-shaped one that looks like this. You would want a 1/4 inch ratchet and a little extension just to undo the screws. So this is pretty much the way you're going to want it to look, and this should be enough for you to remove it. If you don't have the ratchet and all that, you can use a T20 handle screwdriver and that'll work just fine. So in the passenger side, you're going to find 2 T20 screws, one on the left here and one on the right. Just go ahead and undo both of those. Once you got both screws pulled out, just give the plastic trim a good tug, slide it to the left a little bit, and then pull on it, and it'll come right out. Now this cover is going to have a notch that you're going to want to pay attention to when you go to reinstall it, and we'll talk about that later. Underneath the panel, you're going to see this foam piece. Just go ahead and pick that up and pull it out. And then further in, this is where you're going to see the little door that holds the air filters. Push on the clip forward and it'll open the door, and then you can just reach in and pull out both filters. Now the space under here is very minimal, so you might struggle in removing it. So removing the little door will help. Push up on the door and then you can pull out the pins. Those pins fit into a slot back here on the airbox. When it comes time to reinstall, I'll go ahead and show you how to do that, but this is where those pins are going to slide into. So here you can see the air filters, and you can see the direction of the arrow is pointing towards the cabin. So when you go to reinstall them, just make sure those arrows are in the same orientation. So inside the airbox, this is where I wanted to give you a visual of where the glue circles will sit on. It's going to be here and here, and there's going to be another one, but you just can't see it because it's out of frame. But essentially water can build up in the bottom right there, and to keep from the water getting onto your filter, these little spacers will provide you a little more space so they don't get wet. So the first one that you put in will be the one with the spacer, the arrow pointing towards the left. And it is a tight fit, so just do your best to get it in there as best you can. Make sure the spacers go towards the bottom. And then this little flap right here, you're going to want to tuck that in and then slide it down. So here you tuck in the flap, and then you can slowly just push down the filter. just like this. And then for the next filter, just make sure the arrow is pointing toward the left. You have the flap right here. And this one's gonna be a little tougher to put in just because now you have even less space to play with. So just make sure you align it as best you can and just shove it on in. Once the filter is all the way in, this little flap right here on the edge, don't worry about that. It's not gonna go anywhere, so it's okay to just leave it as it is. Now for the door, here are the two pins, one on the top, one on the bottom. And it's really hard to show you on camera as I'm trying to put it in. So I'm gonna put them in the top one first and then slide in the bottom one. And you want the door to be able to freely move, open and close. And make sure that the pins are in their correct spot right here, and make sure the door can open freely. If there's any binding, it's probably not in correctly, just remove it and try it again. And then to close the door, just push it in and until you hear that clip, and then you're all good. Now you want to grab that foam piece that we took out earlier, pull back the carpet a little bit and just shove it back into its spot. You'll know it's in the correct spot when your carpet just evenly aligns with the curve in the front. So right here, see this curve? All the way to the back, and the carpet just goes over the curve. Now for this trim, you're gonna have this little anchor up on top, and then this little trim at the bottom. Now you wanna line up that trim at the bottom. The carpet will go behind it, but it's going to go in front of the trim. I know that's kind of confusing, so let me just show you what I mean. So right here, behind the carpet, but it's gonna go in front of the trim. And then once you got that in, you can line up the anchor up on top. Make sure you're still in position at the bottom. And then this bottom piece, just push it on in. Make sure your holes for your screws are lined up. If they're not lined up, you can easily just slide it left or right just to get them to line up perfectly. And then you can just put in your screws and you're all done. And that's the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, learned something, or if it helped you save some money, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.